For as long as I can remember, I've been seeking truth. Not the kind that you find in scriptures, although I've read every single one I can get my hands on. But the kind of curiosity I've always had is to answer questions like what is love and why do we suffer? The two truths that I feel like I can say are guarantees are that life is impermanent and we are not in control of it. And I know that doesn't seem like a very optimistic place to start when you've looked for 36 years for truth and that's what you land on. So instead of trying to find different terms for life, I wanted to find a path to helping us accept these truths so that we can live harmonious to the life's terms that are available to us. And I found my freedom in a very unexpected place. I found freedom in falling in love with grief. I know that seems strange to say that grief led me to my freedom, or even that I have fallen in love with it, but grief has been the number one source of my liberation in this lifetime. And when I say liberation and freedom, which are pretty big concepts, I'm referring to living a life free from the grips of fear. I'm referring to a life where we are not trying to control it, but we are living in it. And I will explain how grief took me there. But first, when I say grief, I don't expect you to be thinking of freedom and lightness. I don't think you're thinking of wholeness and this kind of yummy feeling. I feel in the audience the density that comes with that word and how that word alone evokes memories of people we've loved who have passed away and pets who have crossed over the rainbow bridge. I imagine you're thinking of tragedies you've overcome and loss and really heavy things, which makes sense because grief, the etymology of the word, stems from the Latin word gravis, meaning gravity, meaning heavy. But I think we misunderstand grief when we only understand it for what it takes from us, and we miss out on where it's trying to take us to. So I'm here to introduce you to the grief that takes you to freedom, to the grief that I fell in love with. Grief not simply as loss, but grief as a meeting with the unknown. In this way, grief is no different than love. Love takes you to the unknown through a union with something, being asked to connect to something outside yourself. Grief takes us to the unknown through the loss of that union, through being asked to let go of something you once held. Both take us to the same place. And what is the unknown, and why does it matter? The unknown is the unavoidable void that we will all touch when familiarity falls away. Either through loss or gain, you will guarantee meet it over and over and over again in a lifetime. And the thing about the unknown, it doesn't care if you're ready to meet it or not. Through grit or grace, you will enter it. So it felt really important to understand how do we enter it with grace. When love comes in, we more willingly and blindly enter the unknown. We say the union is worth the risk, and so we let go of control. If you think about the feeling of falling in love and even remember when you last fell in love with someone or something, that feeling, it's not so much about the union as it is to the surrendered state it takes you to. Falling in love is entering the unknown openly. It's letting go of control and letting go of certainty. That's what love has always been, not really the union. And similarly, I don't think grief is the loss. I think that grief can be very similar to love. But when grief enters, we don't meet it with the same courage as we do love. We tend to harden ourselves. We let fear increase rather than go away. We don't enter with curiosity and vulnerability into the unknown. We shut down and guard as if we can guard against future loss. That empty space left by the loss, we want to fill it or avoid it. But if the gift of love was that it requires you to surrender, and in letting go, you become more present, more connected, more alive, then why do we resist the same when it's coming through grief? I became very curious about this, and started to wonder if perhaps it wasn't grief that was causing us to suffer, but the fact that we resist it. In all things alive, all things except life's terms, its impermanence. The flower is beautiful because it blossoms, but just as much because it's vulnerable to wilting. Forests burn to remake themselves, and even down to the first seed capsule, it has to let go of its integrity for life to enter, for things to sprout. Loss is a part of creation, not separate from it. Decreation, grief, creation, love go hand in hand. All of life accepts endings. It seems like only we resist it. So I had to learn, how do we enter a place that is like nature, where we embrace the seasons that come with life? I look to art because that's the natural place I always go to. And in creativity, I started to notice there was a secret in there to meeting the unknown. The creative meets a blank canvas with excitement for the opportunities to come. Emptiness doesn't feel scary. We trade the fear for curiosity when we are in the energy of creation. And so I looked at all of the things in art, like Michelangelo. He would have never found David if he was afraid to chisel away material. And how poetry, the pause adds to the sentence. Music, the contrast is what makes it harmonious. All the things we call beautiful harmonize loss and gain. So my invitation to you today is this: don't be afraid to imitate nature. Embrace seasons of change. And meet life like an artist does. Trade your fear for curiosity. And most importantly, fall in love with grief. And if you dare fall in love with grief like I did, you may find that grief is not here to take life from you. Grief is what gives it back.